Kazui Kurosaki is an undeniably fascinating but deeply terrifying child. I know it's got nothing to do with the fact that his eyes look like a gateway into the abyss, nor is it because Kubo has been making rather unsettling art of him, and neither is it his mysterious link to the underworld. The fascination surrounding Kazui stems from something far more fundamental, and it lies in the potential of Kazui to become a truly unique phenomenon. A phenomenon with the potential to outshine even the Soul King himself. Now trust me, you're gonna want to stick with me until the end of this video, as I'm about to drop some incredible information about Kazui's character. And once this video is done, then hopefully this claim that I have just made will sound far less absurd than you're probably thinking. Before the video begins, only 12% of the people who watch my content are subscribed to the channel. If you enjoy these videos, then subscribe and stick around for more content just like this. Now let's get back to the topic of the video. Considering all of the information that we've come to learn about from the nearly 2-year-old Bleach one-shot New Breeds from Hell, it's really hard to dispute that Hell stands as the grand mystery of the Bleach universe, even when it's in the company of the likes of Ichigo and the Soul King, who many fans regard as some of the most mysterious figures within the Bleach lore. However, there's a puzzle that appears to have slipped under the radar for many fans. It's a conundrum that grows increasingly fascinating as we contemplate the future of Bleach's story. This mystery comes camouflaged behind a young innocent grin from none other than Kazui Kurosaki. Now if Kazui were like the typical shonen child, then this discussion would be straightforward. I'd simply outline his potential power and we'd call it a day. But Kazui, in a sea of shonen protagonists reminiscent of their parents, seems to have carved a very unique persona for himself. Now this persona, in my view, has evolved him into the most mysterious figure in the entire Bleach universe. The mystery makes Kazui's potential both very fascinating and somewhat daunting to try and gauge, but we'll delve into that later on in the video. So before everything, let's go over why you should fear Kazui Kurosaki. What has the Bleach manga actually revealed to us about Kazui's abilities, which can give us some indications for his fearsome potential. Now if there's one thing that I've come to grow to love about Kubo, it's how he is able to use the most subtle details in order to always point at a much bigger truth. And for a character who has had such a short existence within the manga, you'd think that there would be less of a chance to do this with Kazui. But Kubo manages to successfully weave in hints that indicate that Kazui is no ordinary Shinigami. The first and perhaps most significant clue comes from chapter 686, the epilogue of Bleach. 12 years following the defeat of Yhwach, the Soul Society detects remnants of Yhwach's energy. Similarly, a blob of this energy materializes within Kazui's room. In his innocence, Kazui approaches and touches it, leading to the simultaneous disappearance of the energy from his room and the Soul Society, and thus marking the definitive end to Yhwach. Now I'm going to come back to this point later on in the video and give my thoughts on what I think had happened here. The next instance of Kazui proving to be special occurs twice, once in the final chapter 686 and once during the New Breeds from Hell special one-shot chapter. Throughout the story, Ichigo had to separate his soul from his body in order to enter his Shinigami form. However, Kazui seems to operate very differently. Unlike Isshin and Ichigo, who must exit their physical forms, Kazui can instantly transform his bodily form into a Shinigami one, displaying an ability which is completely unique to him. It's as though his human and Shinigami forms are in perfect harmony with one another. Now the final peculiar thing regarding Kazui's character is the presence of the massive spirit fish. Kazui is seen nonchalantly riding these giant entities flying around Karakura town on them. They don't really bear any holes or mask-like structures, indicating that they cannot be hollows. We've also never observed animal souls manifest in the way that they do around Kazui, so it does leave you wondering whether if these fish are a result of Kazui's power or if they are because of another unidentified phenomenon. Now when we piece together all of these factors that I've just spoken about, it becomes clear that Kubo has deliberately incorporated these details in order to signal to us the reader that Kazui is unlike anything that we've ever encountered before. And this realization becomes even more clearer when you consider the potential power that Kazui has. A large part of why Kazui's potential is frightening stems from the immense reservoirs of power inherent within his lineage. Within Bleach, heritage is a pivotal concept. Ichigo's remarkable strength was born from the power that he had inherited from his parents, hence why it's not unreasonable to anticipate that Kazui Kurosaki could also wield formidable
incredible power due to his inheritance. But what exactly does all of this entail? Firstly, from his mother Orihime, Kazui inherits powers believed to be of full-bring nature, which could present themselves in very intriguing ways. Orihime's ability to reject phenomena has been recognized by fans as a potent capability that if used offensively could obliterate any threat. However, Orihime's pacifist tendencies have curbed this potential. Because of a distaste for violence and harm, inhibits her from harnessing the full lethality of her Shunshin Rika. But on the other hand, with Kazui, this scenario may be drastically different. Now, before delving deeper, we need to address how full-bring abilities would manifest with Kazui. Full-bring tends to exhibit unique characteristics. It's not like spiritual awareness or Shinigami abilities that can be passed on from a parent to a child. Despite the many mysteries surrounding Kazui's existence, there is one fact that we know. He is fundamentally a Shinigami. Shinigami souls operate very differently compared to any other race within the Bleach story. Their souls maximize their genetic potential. This is why parents' abilities can manifest in their children's Zanbakudo. Ichigo is able to manifest Hollow and Quincy powers, which are fused together with his Shinigami powers. And in the same vein, Kazui would most likely manifest those abilities through his Zanbakudo or as an extension of his Shinigami abilities. My personal headcanon is that Kazui's inherited powers had helped him to erase Yhwach out of existence. This feat alone would create an incredibly deadly character who can erase his opponents out of existence with a mere touch. Which means from Orihime, he's got the ability to reject phenomenon. He can basically heal from any wound and reject the existence of any being. But if this was all of the information that we had going for Kazui, then this video wouldn't exist, because the real fun begins with Kazui's character when we examine what he has inherited from Ichigo. The protagonist of Bleach, Ichigo Kurosaki, is the living embodiment of the phrase having won the genetic lottery. Because he is Kazui's father, it leads to Kazui becoming one of the largest power batteries in the Bleach universe. Starting off from the most basic element in this whole equation, which is reyatsu. Ichigo's noble lineage confers certain benefits that are often overlooked by fans. Nobles typically possess higher spiritual pressure compared to non-noble characters, and they seem to exhibit a natural aptitude for combat and zanjutsu mastery. Each of these traits is evident within Ichigo from the manga's first chapter, suggesting that Kazui would likely inherit these traits. Hence, right from the very beginning, we've been presented with a character who boasts immense spiritual pressure, exceptional battle intelligence, and a version of Orihime's Shunshin Rika. Now we're only now beginning to scratch the surface of what Ichigo contributes to Kazui's potential. The next advantage or power that Ichigo possesses, which Kazui may also inherit, is Ichigo's hollow powers. Before delving into this, let's validate the possibility of Kazui actually being able to acquire these powers. The first hint which suggests that this is possible can be found within episode 12 of the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime, where Urahara claims that hollow powers will be passed down to all descendants. However, considering neither Yuzu nor Karin show any signs of hollow powers or any powers at all, it can be assumed that White's powers were exclusively passed down to Ichigo, which leads us to our next query. Can Ichigo pass this on since he himself is a hollow? Answering this question, we have a response from Kubo to a question that is asked to his fan club, which affirms that hollows can reproduce. This confirmation implies that Ichigo can transfer his hollow powers to his son. From this, we can safely deduce that Kazui indeed possesses hollow powers, and he likely has the hollow as a separate entity that is living within his soul, or it may even be integrated with his Shinigami powers, similar to how it is now with his father. Now that we've covered all of the fundamental information, what kind of a power boost will Kazui experience from inheriting hollow powers? Firstly, Kazui receives a considerable enhancement to his physical prowess that souls undergoing holification experience. This includes significant improvements in his strength, speed, and durability, which potentially exceeds the power boost from a Bankai. Reflecting on how Ichigo's hollow mask had transformed him from struggling against base form Grimmjow to being stronger than his resurrection form is truly a testament to the potency of holification. Now this is just the beginning, as Kazui may also gain access to various hollow techniques and abilities that would make him even more formidable. He could learn to use Sonido, the hollow traversal technique which enables its users to vanish from the enemy's senses completely, facilitating devastating surprise attacks. He could also learn to use Sero, a highly destructive beam of condensed reishi, along with its even more lethal variation like Sero Oscuras or even the Gran Rey Sero. Kazui could also further fortify his already resilient body through the iron skin of the hollows, this defensive technique which is possessed by all Arrancar. This would only boost Kazui's power even further. Moreover, the different stages of holification could further escalate Kazui's power to even absurd heights, especially considering how Ichigo's holification evolves throughout the story. So adding Ichigo's hollow powers to the mix, we're left with a Kazui who possesses immense spiritual pressure, exceptional combat intelligence, access to his mother's ability to reject phenomena, and an entire arsenal of overpowered hollow abilities, as well as all of the power enhancements experienced via holification. And to be honest, we're not even done because Kazui has further aspects to his power, like the Quincy abilities that he will also inherit from Ichigo. Despite not being really explored deeply within the manga, Ichigo's power stem from a potent source, which is his mother Masaki, who was born as a pure-blooded Quincy but was later tainted by the Hollow White. As a result of these Quincy abilities, Kazui will have strong defensive abilities like Blut Veen, as well as all of the powers that you would expect from a pure-blooded Quincy. Ichigo is seen to manifest Blut Veen unconsciously, but we never really see him use it again. However, this discussion isn't about Ichigo, and it's fairly safe to assume that Kazui has indeed inherited his father's Quincy powers, since there's no reason to assume that he hasn't. So how does adding Quincy powers to the equation enhance Kazui's potential? Firstly, there's the immensely underappreciated Quincy ability to manipulate reishi, as well as the potential for Kazui to reach the advanced level of this ability known as Holy Slave. This power could take his already enormous spiritual energy to boundless levels, as he could continuously replenish his energy with the reishi around him. Now this ability could also support another Quincy skill that he may acquire, which is the capacity to construct weapons and objects from reishi. This would grant him incredible offensive versatility alongside access to all Quincy spells and their numerous variants. And let's not overlook their unique high-speed movement technique Hyaku. Additionally, he can enhance his already impressive physical capabilities with the two variants of Blut. There's Blut Veen for defense and Blut Archery for offense. However, the aspect of Kazui's Quincy potential that intrigues me the most is the possibility of him being a unique type of Quincy. Every few centuries, a Quincy is born without that innate ability to absorb and manipulate environmental reishi, but instead they have the ability to share their own soul and power with others. Yhwach was the first known Quincy to possess this power, followed by Hashward. Since Hashward, there has been no other Quincy that's been reported to possess this ability, and given that it's been over 1,000 years since Hashward's birth, it seems like there's no time like the present for a Quincy to be born again with this special trait. Is it possible for Kazui to have this power also? And what implications would this have upon the story? I speculate that the first significant implication for Kazui would be him essentially becoming a mini Yhwach who could empower his allies and equally rob them of their lives if he were to choose to reclaim that power. This capability could place him at a level that very few could match. Additionally, his diverse genetic makeup would allow him to absorb powers like Yhwach without any negative consequences through techniques like Sanct Altar. This means fighting Kazui would become futile, as he could simply snatch away your powers before you have a chance to act. There's also a final aspect of Kazui's power that in my view would firmly position Kazui as the most potent being in the Bleach universe. Only two characters throughout the story can use the Almighty. We've seen Yhwach and Hashward use it, but what do they have in common? It's that they're the only two Quincy in the story who are unable to absorb reishi normally. When you pair this with Yhwach's statement about the Almighty being the mark of a true Quincy, it makes one wonder if that's what he had meant. Because if it was, that would mean that Kazui is now in the perfect position to attain the power of the Almighty. This one point alone makes Kazui the most formidable character in the story, but there's still even more. While we've discussed his noble blood due to his Shiba lineage, we haven't delved into his potential Shinigami powers. Kazui could manifest distinctive Zanbakudo abilities which are separate from his Hollow and Quincy abilities. They could be elemental like his grandfather Ishin's, or entirely new abilities never seen before. So this is an important additional variable that you need to keep in mind. By learning other Shinigami combat arts like Zanjutsu, Hoho, Kido, and Hakuda, Kazui could achieve even greater versatility. Although this might seem like overkill, this is the incredibly powerful character that Kubo has ended up creating. However, the final question is, why does all of this matter? In my opinion, Kazui's potential is significant because of his unique position within the current narrative. Many aspects of how Kazui was introduced into the story have led fans to speculate if Kazui might be under the influence of a greater, more sinister force. Understanding how much of a significant threat that Kazui could become if his powers were turned against our heroes stirs the imagination. We know that Kazui is going to play an important role within the Hell arc, so I do wonder what Kubo has in store for him, because it's common practice for a shonen author to introduce the children of the shonen protagonist with their parents in order to establish a dynamic between the two, but for Kazui we're yet to see him interact with either of his two parents, and on both of the two occasions that we see him, he's doing rather creepy stuff. We're introduced to him casually destroying or absorbing the final remnants of Yhwach's power, and during the one-shot chapter No Breeds from Hell, we're introduced to him sending a soul to what very much looks like hell, and I believe that these scenes were intentionally placed by Kubo in order to set up a future plotline. And when we put all of this into context with his frightening potential, we're left with a character who might just be the greatest ally or the greatest threat to the Bleach universe, and I cannot wait to see what Kubo has in store for him. In my opinion, I think that some greater force is going to come and is going to manipulate or control Kazui and to use his incredible power against Ichigo and the others. But that's just my theory. Let me know all of your thoughts on the incredible potential of Kazui Kurosaki, and what do you think his role will be in the upcoming Hell arc of the Bleach manga? Definitely continue the discussion in the comments, and lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I can't wait to see you in my next Bleach Explained video.
If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.